that we briefly looked at what to expect, right? You're mentally prepared. I think the next question that people have is, what does this mean, right? You get a diagnosis of depression or bipolar anxiety. You're like, okay, what does that mean about me and about my life, right? I think that looking at this properly is another element that can really help you in your journey going into this. So as you can tell, we're just doing some of the setup work right now, but if you go into it sort of knowing what to expect of the journey, and you can go into it with the proper mindset of what does this all mean that this is happening to me, I think that's going to really, really help you in your journey to get through this. So what does this mean? I think that typically what we think it means, or what we're afraid it means, is, you know, am I crazy? Oh, does this mean I'm crazy? Does this mean I'm broken? Or inadequate? Or insufficient? Or not good enough? Or whatever, right? What's wrong with me? You know, is that what it means? And I don't think that's what it means. I think what it means is that let's say you get a diagnosis of something, right? Depression, anxiety, bipolar. It doesn't mean that you are bipolar, you are depression, you are anxiety. It means that this is something that you're struggling with, right? A lot of people think, oh, does this mean I'm not normal? Am I not normal? It's like, well, guys, first of all, there's really no such thing as normal, right? Everybody's got all types of difficult stuff that they're dealing with, whether mental health struggles or something else. But I would say, see yourself as normal. You're a normal person. You're a human being with struggles, and you happen to be struggling with some mental health struggles, right? So yes, you're normal. You're just struggling with these things. You know, a lot of times when you're severely struggling with mental health stuff, you almost feel like you're from X-Men. You almost feel like you're a mutant, and you meet other people, maybe in the hospitals or whatever, and they're really messed up, or however you want to say, and you can relate to each other, and you feel like you're experiencing the world in this weird way that other people don't really understand, and you sort of feel like an outcast, and you feel different. You feel like almost outside society, especially when you're in your most severe times. So it's good for you to know if it's with a loved one that they might be experiencing that, or maybe you're experiencing that feeling of, you know, you feel like you're different or on the outside or whatever. But I think the best way in terms of what does this mean, I think it means that you're normal. You're a normal person, and you're struggling. You're struggling with some health stuff, and everybody out there is struggling with something, whether it's this or something else, and there's plenty of other really bad stuff out there that people are struggling with too. I think it's also helpful to know that, you know, a lot of people, the numbers are very high of people who struggle with mental health stuff. We just don't like to talk about it because, you know, we feel like we sort of can't touch it and we can't see it. And because we can't touch it and see it the same way we can with something like cancer, which of course cancer is terrible also, or someone with a broken leg or something, but we can't really touch it and see it and understand it the same way. And so I think people get a little bit scared of it or intimidated by it. And then, you know, when we show mental health struggles in the movies, you know, it's always like some crazy axe murderer or like the Joker and Batman. And, you know, these are kind of the things we think of. And so we associate it with being crazy and dangerous and bad and whatever. And that's sort of the association we make in our mind with these things. And, you know, we even use these things as insults. We say like, oh, they're so bipolar, or even this weather is so bipolar. Like we use it as an insult, but these are things that people struggle with, you know? And so I think that there's, you know, when we say, what does this mean? I think if you're getting diagnosed with this, there's a lot of feelings of like, oh, I'm not normal, I'm broken, I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that. But I really don't think that's true, guys. I really think that you are a normal person. We are all people. There's not really a normal that exists. There's some things that you're struggling with. And because it's hard for us to touch and feel and understand these things, and because of the way it's portrayed in the media and things like that, I think it's really warped it. And it's also made it seem like it's a lot less common than it is because we don't talk about it. But if you look up the numbers, I mean, this is extremely common stuff. So, you know, believe it or not, you're in good company. There are people all around you that are struggling with these things as well. They're just not talking about it because they don't want to be judged, right? But in terms of what does this mean, that's a start. I think taking this to the next level of what this means, I've come up with this idea. I know my handwriting is terrible. If you haven't watched any of my other views yet, or other videos yet, maybe you're first learning this now. This says Lamborghini Mind, the Lamborghini Mind. So I think that we have not done a good job in society of really branding what mental health struggles are. We branded it very negatively, and so then nobody wants to talk about it. So then we all suffer in silence, and then we all think that something is really severely wrong with us, right? And sort of makes the problem worse, honestly. But you know, a lot of our most famous, most creative, most artistic, most brilliant people of all time did have mental health struggles, oftentimes very significant mental health struggles. And I think that a lot of times, if you have this type of mind, it's like your mind is really, really strong. And when you're in your struggling phase of it and you haven't really kind of figured things out, it's like hard to control your mind. Your mind is so powerful. So I like the idea of the Lamborghini mind. So you don't have a broken mind. You don't have an inadequate mind. You don't have a mind that's not good enough. You know, like a Lamborghini, right? Like the car, super high performance car, very powerful, but you have to take care of it, right? It needs a lot of care. It needs to be in its tip-top shape to be able to perform. And so I think that as you're asking the question of what does this mean, I think you should be looking at this the same way, that you have a very powerful mind, that some of the most brilliant people of all time have had minds similar to yours, and that your mind is gonna need some care and some maintenance, and it's gonna really need to be taken care of to perform the way you want it to. So I hope that helps. I'm spending this time doing this because I think a lot of people get these first couple steps wrong, right? In terms of what to expect, they think this is just gonna be super quick, and then if it's not, they're kind of freaking out, and maybe they quit too soon, right? And that's not good. And then in terms of what does this mean, a lot of people think, oh, this means I'm broken and inadequate and whatever, and that's not really true, right? As we're looking at all this stuff and how common these things really are, and you know, if someone doesn't have this, maybe they have drug addiction, or maybe, you know, they were molested or raped, or they've been in and out of jail, or like there's so many bad things that can happen to people. But I think if you look at this in terms of what does this mean as a Lamborghini mind, you can say to yourself, okay, I have a very powerful mind, and it needs some tweaking, it needs some attention, and I need to learn how to be able to control it. So I hope that helps going in, and now we're going to get into some more details.